Hello, and welcome to the OAUG, or Oracle Application Users Group, Endeca Special Interest Group webinar, Oracle OpenWorld 2014, Oracle Commerce and Endeca Information Discovery, or OEID, Case Studies Preview with Real Decoy. My name is Kirby Lunger, and I'm a co-chair of the Endeca SIG. And on the next page, I just wanted to walk through some of the items that we're going to cover that are sort of administrative in nature before we jump into what I know you're all hoping to see, which is the body of the content here with Real Decoy. So if you could just jump ahead to the next page for me. First of all, there are too many of you on the line, unfortunately, to take questions live. So what we're going to do is actually ask you to submit questions via the chat window or the questions window on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Your name and questions aren't going to be visible to anybody else except the panelists and organizers of the webinar, so there are no silly questions. And people always ask about getting a copy of the presentation and a recording of the webinar. Those will both be available after the webinar to attendees via the OAUG Endeca SIG website, and a link to that website is on the last page of this presentation. We'll also be sending out a note when that content's available. And finally, to keep our attorneys happy, these slides are only, really the content of the presenters and don't represent the opinions of the SIG. So in terms of the SIG, I just wanted to introduce a few folks who are going to be on the presentation today. If you could jump ahead one more slide, please. My name, again, is Kirby Lunger. I'm one of the co-chairs of the SIG. I'm also joined today by Jeff Reed, who chairs the Oracle Commerce Subcommittee for the SIG. And unfortunately, I'll let him introduce himself in just one second. And then we also have three other co-chairs of the SIG on the next page, which is George Samoji, he's the co-chair. Then we also have Ramesh Kumar, who heads up the EBS Extensions Subcommittee. And we have Sean Suskind, who runs the OEID, or Endeca Information Discovery Subcommittee. And the purpose of the SIG on the next page is to really provide information to help you enhance your knowledge about the Endeca suite of products, such as Oracle Commerce, OEID, and EBS suite extensions for Oracle Endeca. Why should you join? In education and training. So we do regularly scheduled webinars from product teams and Endeca customers and partners like this one to help educate you about the different areas of the Endeca product suite. Networking, so getting to meet people both in person at events like the upcoming Oracle OpenWorld, as well as collaborate. And then also really networking. So you get a chance to network with other folks who are very involved in similar things. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Reed to introduce himself and to talk through some of the upcoming events, webinars, and content that we can share with you both at OpenWorld and via the OAUG resources. Take it away, Jeff. Thank you.
Thanks, Kirby. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff Reed. I am the Subcommittee Chair for Oracle Commerce, as Kirby mentioned. My role is to provide the education, networking, and essentially enablement for the different customers and partners working on the Oracle Commerce product. Now, that includes both the former HEG and Endeca projects in here. I have several years' experience with it, and I'm looking forward to talking with you, walking through the different content we have on here. The first thing I want to talk about on here is the upcoming session we have for the SIG at OpenWorld. There is a meeting coming up on Sunday, September 28th, so this is the very first day of the OpenWorld session. From 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. we're going to be holding our annual SIG meeting at the Moscone West building on the third floor up in room 3007, and we would love for you to be able to come out and attend the session. What we're going to be doing is talking a little bit about the purpose of the SIG, give everybody a chance to meet each other, meet both the chairs as well as the different members of the organization to start developing those networking connections within the different user communities for the different products in here. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the different products, their current state, and giving you an idea of what those upcoming sessions are for the different focuses for the different products during the OpenWorld sessions. The meeting ID is SIG 9019, and I really encourage you to add that and attend it on Sunday, so that's 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. for the session. We'll also be having an open panel for all the different products, and it's your chance to ask different questions, talk about your use cases of the different Oracle Commerce and Endeca Information Discovery and EBS extensions products that are out there for that. The other thing I want to take a quick minute was to highlight some of the different sessions that are going to be happening at OpenWorld, focusing on the three different product areas within here. The first one is focusing on the Oracle Commerce side. Now, all these different sessions for the different products are going to be posted up on the Endeca SIG website, as well as our LinkedIn group for you to be able to take a look at and add them directly to your calendar. So I encourage you to come on to the LinkedIn group and take a look to make sure that you can attend and get the most value from OpenWorld if you're coming from there. If you're not attending OpenWorld, not a problem. We'll be doing our best to do a recap of the different sessions, different recordings, and you're able to monitor a lot of the information coming out from the different sessions at OpenWorld. For the different commerce sessions within there, the Oracle Commerce area is part of the CX Central area, which is a brand new area, or brand new sessions, I should say, at OpenWorld this year. And they've been able to provide us with a list of the different sessions and recommendations they have for both general CX topics. So again, we're going a little bit beyond Endeca, also talking about marketing, social, and different areas, but also what you should be looking at or attending to get your focus of Oracle Commerce in here. There's going to be a roadmap and product release slides in here. There's also going to be an opportunity to meet the commerce experts. And that's your chance to sit down at different tables with different themes with the Oracle product development team, as well as different partners that are different implementers, and discuss how different areas such as Experience Manager or HEG and Endeca integration or handling updates are affecting you, and to gain some excellent knowledge from the different tools that are in there. There's also a few different sessions coming up in the Oracle Commerce space as well, including handling complex retail ecosystems, which is one of the different sessions we're going to be running through today quickly for you, and also how to unleash the power of the Oracle Commerce business tools. For all the different Endeca products, there's also a few demo areas that are going to be present as well. These are going to be both in the exhibition hall as well as in Moscone West on the different levels in the CX Central area. And it's your chance to see some hands-on examples of the different Endeca products, including some of the actual commerce implementations that are out there using all those different pieces of functionality that come with Oracle Commerce, as well as at the different demo grounds, some actual information discovery hands-on to see what the data insight and the data discovery tools are for you, as well as the EBS extensions to see how those can complement your different tools within the different sections in there. For the information discovery, there's also going to be another roadmap session. Now, the one thing I'll note about that is it is going to be a more generalized business intelligence section within there. It's not focused entirely on the information discovery, but it will give you a vision of where they're going to be taking the information discovery product for the next little bit within there. There's also going to be a customer panel, which is going to be another panel session with both the product development team from the information discovery, as well as several of customers who have implemented their solutions to talk about how they utilize the tool, their implementations of it, and also take different questions from the audience for any issues you might be experiencing with it. There's also some great sessions in there to highlight some of the new features that came out in version 3.1 of the Information Discovery tool, including the self-service analytics, as well as one of the sessions you're going to be seeing a little bit later on in this session, the Verizon case study of how they use Information Discovery for both demand and capacity management. And I highly encourage you to attend these different sessions. For the EBS world, we have a few different key sessions in there as well that are focused on the EBS extensions for Oracle and Endeca, talking about the strategy, so taking a look at the previous releases that have come out, the different new extensions that have been added to the system, and also the roadmap of where they're going to be taking the product for the next little bit within here. There's also going to be sessions in there talking about, for example, technical considerations, which always comes into play when you're adding EBS extensions for Endeca on top of an existing installation or implementation of your technology, and also talking about the top benefits that the information discovery system will add on for EBS. If you've had a chance to take a look at that EBS extension, is quite powerful and has a lot of dynamic functionality to the EBS suite within there. There'll be some discussions in there of how to customize, and also another chance for you to have some roundtable discussions with the Oracle Endeca experts for the EBS side within there. Additionally, as Kirby had mentioned at the beginning here, we've been having several different webinars over the last few months focused on all the different product stacks of the Endeca side within there. Last month we had a great chance to run through an actual customer case study from Valdosta State University, where they were talking about how they monitor their student activity using the Oracle Endeca Information Discovery session. We also had another great presentation from the actual Oracle product development team for EBS extensions, talking about their new human resources extensions they've been added to the system. Those webinars were also recorded just like these, and they'll be uploaded to the Endeca SIG website, and there'll be a post on the LinkedIn group as well for them to be uploaded within the next day or so. So it's your chance to go in and take a look at those different sessions, and I highly encourage you to take a look at them just in case you weren't able to attend those within August. What I'd like to do now is to introduce our presenters from Real Decoy, who are going to be presenting a quick sneak peek at the OpenWorld sessions that are coming up. There's a total of 3 different sessions coming up from some of the different customers implementing both commerce and information discovery. We're going to be taking a look both at Office Depot as well as Intrajet for the commerce side, and Verizon for how they implemented the Endeca information discovery. These are going to be a quick sneak peek for those of you that may not be able to OpenWorld or that want some idea of what you're going to be seeing at the sessions. I highly encourage you to add these and attend these if you are attending OpenWorld, as their actual customers will be on site to introduce these different products to you and talk about the pros and cons of how their implementation went and how they got the most value from these within here. From Real Decoy, we're going to be having Jim Richmond, the Senior Director of our Americas Sales, presenting both our Office Depot as well as our Intrajet presentations. And we'll be having David Worth, who's our Director of Solutions, presenting the Verizon Oracle Endeca Information Discovery case study. What I'd like to do now is to hand it over to Jim Richmond, and as Kirby mentioned, I highly encourage you to ask any questions within the questions box of your webinar panel, and at the end of the session we'd be more than happy to pass those on to the panelists and provide the responses for you. Thank you. Go ahead, Jim.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. I appreciate the introduction there. Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Richmond. As Jeff said, I'm the Senior Director responsible for sales in the Americas, North and South America for Real Decoy. I am a legacy Endeca guy. I've been doing Endeca work since I joined that company back in 2006, and it's been a great technology to work with, and I'm excited to be presenting to you all today. Just a few quick slides about Real Decoy, who we are, and why we're worth listening to, and have some credibility, and we'll dive right into the good stuff, the case studies and the actual client discussions. Real Decoy is a global customer experience applications company. We provide end-to-end services for the entire Oracle Commerce stack, as well as for a variety of data insight pieces. I'll be talking to the commerce pieces. David Worth, my colleague, will be talking to the data insight stuff later on in the presentation. We are spread out across North America. We have offices in New York, Boston, Atlanta, where I sit, Ottawa, Jamaica. We've also got presences in Toronto and in Brazil as well. We've been around for more than 13 years. We have about 100 folks on staff here, and you know, we're very focused on commerce and insight, both in the B2B and the B2C side of things. And Jeff mentioned we'll be at OpenWorld. I'll plug those sessions here in just a little bit. One of the things I'll talk about is our clients. You know, everybody's got their NASCAR slide. Here is ours. We've got hundreds of clients. I think it's more than 300 the last time we counted. These are some of the very recognizable ones where we're proud to have done work. I think the message here is that, you know, the biggest and most powerful companies and the most recognized brands in the world, you know, have the resources to choose to work with any partner, and these and a lot more choose to work with Real Decoy because of our specific experience in the Oracle Commerce and data insight part of the field, and you know, we're really pleased to do both. You know, Oracle Commerce / ADG work, or Endeca work, or a mix of both. We also do strategy and user experience work as well. Let's talk a little bit about why Real Decoy, why we're differentiated from the other players in the marketplace. We like to call ourselves the strongest customer experience application boutique firm that's out there. At 100 heads, we feel like we're just the right size to tackle a vast array of different projects, from very large to small and tactical. And we feel like in terms of in that segment of the marketplace, you're not going to find another company that has more experience than us and a better track record. So like I said, we do both customer experience consulting, sort of the softer side of things in terms of user experience design, ethnographic studies, usability testing, what color should the button be and where should it go on the page kind of stuff, as well as the hard skills around technology and implementation. We really do both. Like I said before, I think a lot of folks might know us as an Endeca-only shop. That might have been the case 5 years ago. It is not the case today. I'd say about half the work that we do is Oracle Commerce, the entire stack, and that's a growing portion. So we do pretty much everything ATG, Endeca, Web Center sites, the whole shebang. Another big facet of what we work on is Agile BI. Around the Oracle Endeca Information Discovery tool and other BI tools, using our deep commerce credentials for that. We are the right size and the right price for where we play in the marketplace. I like to say that we're large enough to tackle any project, small enough to handle and be interested in all of them. And we are extremely referenceable. A lot of other players out there in the marketplace grow until they experience failures. We continue to grow, but we are very focused on avoiding failures, and we don't take work that we can't deliver on successfully. We offer a whole basket of services, across design, technical implementation. Managed services is something that we do where we manage the ongoing health and upgrade and long-term maintenance of an application. And we literally wrote the book on Endeca training. Oracle has contracted us to do most of the Endeca partner training that's being done in the world, or we've got other similar deals in the pipe for other technologies. And the last thing I'll do is I'll plug the 3 sessions that we're presenting for at OpenWorld. So there's one about handling complexity in B2B ecosystems. There's another one about using ATG and Endeca to do deep personalization with Interjet. We'll talk about that in a second. And then how Verizon is using OEID. David's going to talk to that in the back part of the session. That's enough about us. Let's get going and start talking about Office Depot, which is our first case study that we'll be going through. So I don't know that I need to spend a ton of time introducing Office Depot and talking about their brand and where they fit in the marketplace and what they do. They should be a household name by now. You may not be aware that they purchased, acquired, or merging with Office Max. That was announced about a year ago, and will be a long process to get them together. They've got about $13 billion in revenue. What you may not know is that a minority of that revenue comes through the retail channel, whether it's an OD or an OMAX brick and mortar store, or their .com sites. The majority of their revenue comes through a B2B channel. They have a separate application called their Business Services Division, BSD, and they also do a large amount of business online in Western Europe and Southeast Asia through a number of brands, including one called Viking that you may be familiar with. And so when you sum those up, the B2B sort of replenishment side of things is actually a big part of their business. They're going to be on stage with me at OpenWorld in a couple of weeks. Come out and see us. The way I want to talk through this case study is kind of in a different and hopefully novel to you guys format. We're with a tool that we call an infographic. The idea is that we take a very outside-in approach to working with our clients. We're very focused on the customer's experience and the external factors that drive that. And we use that to inform the technology solution and the engagement profile that we bring to bear. And so we're going to build this slide from the outside on in and talk through it that way. So on the left-hand side, you'll see our raw materials, what we had to work with at Office Depot, in the information column. On the right-hand side, you'll see the outcomes column, and that's the business drivers that Office Depot was looking to acquire as they went through this process. So if I can direct your attention to the left-hand side first, the information. A lot of things here that probably aren't surprises. A product master, in terms of the big catalog with all the master information of all the things that they sell. They've got a bunch of custom catalogs for specific customers or government agencies where they can only buy certain things. There's an enormous volume of pricing contracts and customer-specific pricing information that is staggeringly complex. as you might be able to imagine. There's a separate data pool on inventory, what's in what distribution center, and how long it takes to get there, and from here to there, and everything else. They have product review data. They have a variety of upsell and cross-sell rules. They've got a whole bunch of marketing content, and of course they've got a bunch of social media stuff that they want to tie into the experience as well. On the right-hand side of outcomes, again, hopefully most of these make sense, right? It's a low-margin business. They always want to bring that up. They want to continue to drive customer loyalty. They're locked in a vicious battle with Walmart and Target and Staples. They want to continue to grow and grow their revenue. Net Promoter Score is really important to them. One that I'll specifically call out is site agility. They want the market changes quickly, and their demanding marketing teams want changes being made to the site, when they want them, and not a week from now or a day from now or whatever it might be. So as we build this in toward the middle a little bit more, on the left-hand side you'll see the data elements that come from that information, and on the right-hand side you'll see the touch points, the channels through which those outcomes get delivered. So for the data pieces, right, again, as you might expect, there's a custom integration to their master data management system. There's a lot of marketing information that comes in basically real time. The contract pricing and availability feed is always changing, right? They have tens of thousands of customers, and there's a lot of jostling around how that all gets updated and works, and delivery logistics, of course, and social feeds are constantly updating throughout the day as well. The touch point side on the right-hand side are the channels that you would expect from a B2B and B2C mixed business. They've got web, they've got mobile, they've got an inside sales team, they've got a call center. All those channels need to be in sync and locked up together. So as we build this in one step further, the services that we wound up building as part of our number of engagements with Office Depot over the years, on the left-hand side, we'll start with the data-centric services. So on the back end, we've really had to do a lot of work to engineer the Oracle Commerce Stack to enable the massive amount of flexibility that the catalog kind of demands, right? There's a lot of different kinds of products that they sell, from computers to chairs to paper to professional services to software, all kinds of stuff. The pricing is highly variable, so getting that pricing feed and getting it updated in as close to real time as possible was really key and a big challenge. Same thing with the inventory piece, and doing merchandising in a rapid way so that they can change and respond to the market was very important to them. On the right-hand side of the middle here, the user-centric service. So we talked about the data-centric services on the left-hand side. That's the back-end stuff in terms of ingesting data and getting it loaded into Oracle Commerce properly. On the right-hand side, the user-centric services that we're talking about here are we wanted to build dynamic landing pages that were really sticky, that made customers feel like, okay, I'm in the right area. I'm going to click around a little more and keep shopping and keep adding stuff to my cart. Canonicalized, Google-friendly, SEO-savvy URLs were of critical importance to them. They're nice and hierarchical, and we'll get into the engines well. They want to do personalization as detailed as they can at a massive scale. Since so much of the business is done on a B2B basis behind the login, they know who the customer is, how they're shopping, how they tend to shop, what their biases are. And so being able to tweak the elements on the page in that way was really critical to them. Fast load times are important to everybody. That's self-explanatory. And then the last user-centric service that we really wanted to focus on were relevant results despite their massive catalog. One person searches for paper and they need a pallet of green bar for their old, AS400 line printers that crank out reports. Another person searches for paper and they mean paper sticky notes for their kids' art project. And knowing your customer and being able to deliver results that are relevant based on ambiguous and equally valid searches was a real challenge for us that we really dove into. I'll call your attention to that central ring. The differentiator from a technology standpoint that Real Decoy brought to this engagement was really the deep Endeca expertise to handle the data scale, in terms of the proliferation of prices and inventory and products and catalogs, as well as the user scale, right? It's a top-tier website. They get an enormous amount of traffic every day. Is Cyber Monday for these guys. It has to stay up and it has to perform really well. And then the last piece is the engagement style, this yellow ring that we brought to the table here. They have a very stable and mature IT organization. They have a lot of established processes for QA, for environments, for all that kind of stuff. And Real Decoy is really able to we've been able to work within that environment and meet their needs exactly. So that's the process that we went through. That's the solution as we developed it. I can show you some pictures of OfficeDepot.com. I encourage you to go out there and play with the site yourself. I don't mind saying, even if the client were here sitting next to me, it is not the sexiest, most fabulous site in the world. It doesn't look like a high fashion site like Burberry or Rolex or Tiffany or something like that. This is a site where they are selling basic supplies, right? And a variety of them. And so it's a more traditional look. They have an audience that has a huge degree of sophistication from a graying side of the workforce that's still doing replenishments and stuff to the 20-somethings that are rushing into the job marketplace who want to do everything by text message. And so they struck a traditional format for this application. I can't show you the BSD application where a lot of the revenue comes through. It is even more streamlined, frankly, because most of the users there are spearfishers, know exactly what they want, which SKUs they want to replenish, and dive in and buy those things. You can poke around the site and see that they've got a lot of different landing pages. The landing page experience for furniture is dramatically different from the one they have for technology, for example, and that's all driven by the various merchandising teams that are there. Okay, click around that site. It's actually a cool site, and it's super fast, and I'm proud of that. I'll take a break in between Office Depot and Interjet to plug a white paper that we've developed, and you're welcome to go out and download around upgrading from Page Builder to Experience Manager. That was the journey that we went on with Office Depot to make that migration from Page Builder to a very modern Experience Manager framework was probably the most challenging upgrade of that kind that's ever been undertaken. So we've boiled down some of the learnings from that process into a white paper. I encourage you to go out and grab that. Okay, let's keep the momentum up and talk a little bit about Interjet. For those of you who were, for a lot of you, Interjet may be a new name, a new brand to you. Interjet they're an airline. They are the fastest growing airline in Mexico and Latin America. They sort of liken themselves to being the JetBlue of Latin America, or maybe the Southwest of Latin America is an apt comparison as well. They have about 50 aircraft. They serve about 50 destinations across Mexico and Central America and the U.S. It's a really cool experience. They're very focused on their low-cost carrier, right? Fares are important, but they pride themselves on not having any hidden fees. They don't ding you for bags when you want to check them. They don't ding you for flight changes and that kind of stuff. You pay for the fare, and that's what you get. It's really cool. They have cameras on the nose of their plane, so when you're in your seat, you can watch the tarmac roll by as you're taking off and stuff. The entire cabin they call the entire cabin is first class. It's one class of service, and they're really nice leather seats. It's very comfortable. So fly Interjet if you get the opportunity. Let's go through the same kind of infographic here as we did with Office Depot, but for a different challenge. So we are in the process right now of implementing the entire Oracle Commerce stack at Interjet. Again, on the left side, the information that we have to work with as we're going through this project, it should be, we're planning on getting into QA in November and launching in January is the current plan. So we've got flight schedules to work with. We've got a rapidly changing seat inventory. We've got rapidly changing fares and promotions. We've got travel packages that they want to sell. We've got a lot of traveler profiles, right? We know who these people are and what their birthday is and where they come from. We've got the destinations and routes and a lot of content around that, and then revenue and yield management and social media as well. The big driver that Interjet is trying to get to with their investment in this application is to move from just selling segments, right, one rear and one seat for one flight, to selling travel packages and experiences where you've got hotels, ground transportation, meals, and other things mixed in. The margins are much higher. The revenue is diversified. And you can see that reflected in the outcomes that they're trying to get to on the other side. Great experiences for the customers, bigger margins, bigger NPS, extending their reach, and reducing their marketing expense. So based on those raw materials and those outcomes, the data elements that we have to work with are a big operational data store of the logistics of all these planes, where they are, where the crew is and the flight attendants are, and what the schedule looks like. There's as real time as you can get pricing, right? As jet fuel changes, so doth the prices change. The packages get mixed up regularly based on what they and their partners think will sell. The routes change, and as they continue to grow and add more routes, that is a dynamic piece of things. The touch points on the right-hand side are what you would expect, right? We've got a web channel, we've got an app, We've got a variety of social engagement ways. There's a special app just for their frequent flyers. There's a lot of media that they invest in, right? Airlines are very heavy on investing in media, and being able to tie those promotions and put QR codes and vanity URLs out there and stuff is really important to them. So based on that, you know, on the left of center here, the data-centric services that we've worked to build out are a real-time inventory where you know, through Oracle Commerce, the inventory flows extremely rapidly in terms of what seats are available, right? You have to be able to show whether or not flights are available as they become available or unavailable. The packaging and bundling, right? That's the big value driver for this engagement is being able to put packages out there that are bundled up in a way that makes sense. So after someone picks a flight, for example, show them, hey, by the way, here's a hotel and a car rental, and you'll save money on both and get a good deal and have one-stop shopping. There's a lot of targeting of these packages to specific travelers, since we know who they are, and we've got a lot of data from their BI system that tells us, you know, what we're going to target, whom we're going to target, and with what. And then there's a lot of revenue planning data as well, where you know, that informs which promotions get pushed when. To direct your attention to right of center, the user-centric services that we're building, the big number one is dynamic landing pages, right? For their 50 destinations and the various routes, right? They want to get out ahead of the SEO curve and really be able to, you know, if you search on Cancun, you're going to get the Interjet landing page first, because there's just a ton of Cancun-specific content out there about destinations, about hotels they offer, about the fare schedule and what's going on, what time of year, and so on and so forth. And those destination pages are of course customizable in real time by the marketing folks. You know, there's a lot of work around coddling their frequent flyers. We see you always start here, so we're gonna pre-populate, you know, your offers with that in mind. There's a lot of work around doing these very granular promotions for people based on their billing address, based on their age, that kind of stuff. And then, of course, again, the URL structure, just like with Office Depot, and making sure that those things are presented in a beautiful way. In the center of the gray ring, you know, the technology credentials that we really brought to bear on this are, it's the full breadth of services, right? Not just ATG, Experience Manager / Endeca, and Web Center sites, but also the user experience, right? We're doing the design on this as well. We've worked on the visual identity. We're coloring the buttons in, you know, and studying how users are interacting with the wireframes and all that kind of stuff. It's a one-stop shop for the entire end-to-end thing. No other agencies or anybody else involved. And then the yellow ring in the center, you know, our engagement style for this has been extremely flexible. So, you know, what's interesting about them is they're not using ATG to transact in this particular case. They have a big revenue and yield management system that's software as a service that handles transactions and ticketing. And so really they're using ATG as the personalization engine to drive very specific scenarios out to their target user base above and beyond what the Experience Manager piece was capable of doing. And so we've been able to say, hey, we get it. We don't, you know, we're not going to bother with an accelerator or anything like that that's got a lot of plumbing work tangled up with transacting. We're able to come in and give them everything they needed and nothing that they didn't. And that was a big differentiator for us. I can show you some screenshots of the site. I encourage you to go out to interjet.com or interjet.com.mx today and poke around. This is the existing site as you see it today. It's very focused on segments. You know, origin, destination, how many people, what date, buy that seat. The future comps that we're working towards, this is one that is likely very close to the final one. It's a lot cleaner. It's a lot more modern site that is a lot less focused on specific segments and is more focused on, let's talk about packages. Let's talk about the destinations. Let's talk about you know, for the frequent flyer miles. Let's talk about the club Interjet that you're a member of, and make it more of a destination page and less of a page just about selling specific segments. Oh, it looks like the slide's a little laggy. There you go. That's the current Interjet. That's the Interjet experience that will be this winter, right? It's just a lot more modern and a lot more focused on images and destinations. Than we've still got the segment piece in there if you want to go that route, but it's much more focused on drawing people out. Okay. I could talk about this all day. I love it so much, and I really care about these clients, and I think they're really interesting stories. But at this point, I'm going to hand the torch off to my colleague, David Worth, and he's going to switch over to the Agile business intelligence side of the world and talk about our work at Verizon.
Thanks, Jim. Let's move on to that next slide. I know there's a little bit of a lag.
Oh, I forgot to plug our other white paper, Integrating Endeca with ATG. Go out to the same URL. You can get that. You can get that one as well. and I encourage you to download that. It's got a lot of our insights that we learned from Interjet. Sorry, David, go ahead.
No, thanks, Jim. So let's talk about the BI world for a second before we jump into talking about Verizon. So I know in my career, I originally first started off as a business analyst for a company, developing diagnosis reports. And I just remember how my day went, and it was all about producing reports to understand what was going on in the business at a certain time period. And producing those reports and talking with executives, the next logical outcome would be, okay, well, why is this happening in the business? And then I would go back and be like, well, I don't know that right now. Let me go back and produce 10 more reports, right? So the time was very lengthy, and it was very challenging to answer executives' questions no matter how hard you tried. It was a constant, shuffle of reports and building reports. It was also really challenging to get the right data in place, and we had great information stored all over the place, but you had Excel spreadsheets, and you had databases, and you had flat files, and you had unstructured content, and trying to traverse all those data sources made it really challenging. And so you tried to pull the best information you could, but when you come to a logical conclusion, you weren't sure exactly whether that information was based on the same data that your colleagues were basing their analysis on, or their analyses on. And so it was really challenging to say, do I have multiple versions of the truth going on here, and how do I make concrete decisions and truly understand what is the underlying data that's driving my decisions? And the last thing is you spend a lot of your time actually collecting that data, putting that data together, analyzing the information, right? And so it becomes very challenging to actually do the analysis, do what you're actually tasked to do, which is conduct all the analysis necessary to pull together a story for these executives. And this is a challenge not just at Verizon, but it's a challenge in a lot in today's world, because people want information very, very quickly. We want to understand why things are happening so that we can react and change them. Let's move on to that next slide. So what was the challenge at Verizon? As you guys know, Verizon is one of the largest telecom companies in the world, but you may not know they have a world-class professional services division. They're number 60 on the Fortune 500 list, and during the course of this implementation, we talked about demand and capacity management. So as you know, with professional services in general, we have information that lies all over the infrastructure, right? We have opportunities, we have projects, and we're trying to draw the relationship between that sales and delivery pieces of the organization. In order to implement this, we actually took a very interesting approach, which is taking a customer experience approach, where we actually focused on the users. We focused on the people that were doing and trying to solve the problems, and trying to produce the reports, trying to answer the questions. We'll talk a little bit more about how we did that. So looking at the infographic that my colleague Jim Richmond has gone through a couple of times here today, what we tried to do is build what we call a superior decision support system. If you look to the left side, we have a summary of information. That information is really about kind of the different sets of information assets that we use to pull in to build our solution. Now we need to pull from. And to the right side, you had the outcomes. So we had things like ROI, proactive hiring practices, reduced costs, a lot of the things you need to run your professional services organization very, very effectively. And from an information perspective, back on that left side, we're pulling in information about financials, employee demographics, skills, capacity information, sales funnels and opportunities, information that lives all over the place. We're trying to pull that together, draw some of those unique relationships so we can properly support the sales funnel, the delivery organization, the employees, and ultimately the customer. If you look up, you have the data. This is the core data assets that where this information lives. And to the right, you have the touch points, the people that are actually using this information. The data on the left that we used was around Salesforce.com, PeopleSoft. We pulled in some really great information from the Excel spreadsheet. So it's really interesting fact that I'm sure you guys are all familiar with. But a lot of analysts are using Excel to manage day-to-day tasks, right? Even some of the resourcing information lives in Excel spreadsheets. So we were actually able to ingest some of these custom Excel spreadsheets into the system. We also had unstructured data coming in from talent surveys. So information about people, right, live across all these different data repositories. And so we were able to pull that thing together so you kind of got one view of the employee. Now, who's using this system, right? These touch points to the right. Well, executive managers need to use this information. They need to understand what's going on in the business. They need to understand how you can get to that why, right? How detail-oriented they get to be. Resource managers need this from a capacity planning, from a skills planning. Am I going to be able to fill the projects that are available in the pike? And how do I fill those? Do I need to go out and hire? Can I use subcontractors? Should I use subcontractors? Sales managers need to understand this information. They're really looking at, how am I going to manage my funnel? Right? Do I have enough people in the organization who can help me accelerate sales? Do I have enough people who could actually drive the sales to closure more quickly? Am I allocating the right sales reps to the right people? And lastly, you have your systems analysts, right? So these are the guys that are punching away, trying to figure out what is happening in the business and why it's happening. Let's go ahead and go to the next. So to the left here, we have the data-centric services. So this is the type of information we pulled from each one of these repositories. To the right, you have your user-centric services, so how people are actually interacting with the information. The data-centric services piece to the left, you have your opportunity management information. So we pulled in all the funnel information, everything about customers, everything from the stats, the opportunity to potential revenue to stages. We pulled in skills information, so everything you want to know about the people. We put in profit and revenue planning as well, which came from SAP as well as a custom financial system. We also pulled in talent survey information, which is, again, more information about the individuals themselves. From a user-centric side, what's unique about the OEID product and the way we went about this was the OEID product borrows a lot of inherent features from the e-commerce world. So things like guided navigation, ad hoc discovery, the ability to click around, the ability to search really is extremely valuable in bringing this solution to fruition. So we were able to pull in interactive charting. We were able to implement ad hoc discovery. We were able to implement guided search features. But most importantly, we were able to put in something that we call a holistic decision support system. So it's excellent that each one of these system repositories has its own reporting. Right? Salesforce has its own reporting. SAP has its own reporting, and they're great reports. Right? They tell you what's going on in those respective systems. But it's only when that you bring those systems together and you're actually able to see how one system interacts with another that you're able to truly make the decisions you need and to understand why something has occurred within the organization. And we were able to bring that to fruition to help manage the professional services division much better. So how did we do this? Well, we used Oracle and Endeca Information Discovery. To support the implementation. Next. There we go. And then, of course, how did we go about implementing it from a methodology perspective? We used Agile BI. So we used a release-based methodology. That release-based methodology is very important. Focusing on building a very strong foundation that is use case centric, and the application builds on each other. So as you discover new things, as you discover anomalies in the information, as you discover a new pattern, you're actually able to integrate that into your overall project and continually build new use cases to the application. So what does the application look like today? Well, we have a dashboard summary that's able to provide the guided navigation features, the breadcrumb features, the search features. When you initially log into the application, you're able to do some ad hoc analysis with sales, with delivery information, and see cross-sections across the data. You're also able to do some capacity planning around certain competencies, skills, product matching, and see what the projected revenue, projected deal sizes are, projected bookings, and making sure you can properly manage your professional services unit. And you can see those cross-sections here on the screen where we talk about the opportunity funnel, forecasted availability of resources, as well as the historical burn metrics where we talk about variances between the two, whether you're billing, booking, and delivering. And then for, next slide, please. So I really do encourage you guys to come in here and talk more about the Verizon use case. We are going to be at Oracle World speaking with Verizon, and I think it's going to be a great session for everybody to go to. And for more information, I believe you can go to our website and download our ebook around OEID, as well as join our mailing list. So just to recap, please look at your schedule builder online if you are going to be attending Oracle OpenWorld. These are the 3 courses that we're going to be speaking at. Jim will be at the first 2. I will be speaking about Verizon. We're really looking forward to meeting you if you are going to attend. If you want to have offline discussions about these use cases specifically as well, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Great.
And I think we're just about ready for our Q&A session now. I believe, Kirby, you have a few different questions have been asked by some of the different attendees.
Absolutely. And if whomever's driving could just drive a couple slides ahead. What we have there is a list of everyone who's presenting, as well as links to resources for the special interest group. So if you can, if you don't get your questions answered right now, and I see a bunch coming in, we will endeavor to get answers to you individually. So first of all, one of the questions we got related to the webinar is, are landing pages driven by XM? And I think that's related to the Verizon case study.
Actually, I believe the landing pages are driven by Experience Manager, but I believe that is for the Interjet and Office Depot examples.
Oh, excuse me, forgive me. Yeah.
Yeah,
sorry,
no, that's
bad.
okay. No, not at all, not at all. Jim, do you want to comment a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so in both the Office Depot and the Interjet use cases, yes, all of their dynamic landing pages are driven by Experience Manager. That's the primary technology that's driving that, and that's the one that Oracle recommends you use for landing pages, kind of going forward with the Oracle Commerce toolset. It's actually a nice feature and capability because it allows you to basically systematically create as large a proliferation of landing pages at intersections of your catalog or content as you like. So you can set up a landing page for, let's say in the Office Depot case, you can set up a landing page for office chairs, but you can extend it off in your hierarchy and say, actually, let's see the landing pages for leather office chairs, for brown leather office chairs. You can have hundreds or tens of thousands of landing pages if you want, which is great for SEO. And then that allows you to manage a template for all of them, and then manage by exception. If there's, the Herman Miller Aeron landing page is going to look different because Herman Miller paid you money, then you can go off and edit that one. It's a nice technology.
Thank you. And the next question we have is related to Verizon, so forgive me, I flipped them. What did you do and say to get the internal buy-in that Oracle Endeca Information Discovery would yield a return on investment for Verizon?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question. I think a lot of companies who are trying to go back into the agile BI world have this challenge, and essentially it was a three-person team. It was Oracle, Real Decoy, and Verizon, really sitting down and understanding the core business processes. There's a lot of soft cost savings as well as hard cost savings that you can have when you start to improve process. And that's essentially what we did. We did a lot of process revamp around how staffing is being done. On top of that, we actually drew some new conclusions that we knew we were going to draw. So we could project out to the future, made a few assumptions, and we're actually able to project some sort of an ROI out into the future. The ROI right now is actually being measured. We went live about a month ago. It's currently still in process, but you can already tell they're operating much more efficiently from the process revamp that we went through.
Okay. And speaking of Experience Manager, we had a question related to the Office Depot case study and what the upgrade path is moving from Page Builder to Experience Manager. And related to that, sort of any special considerations for internal IT when migrating to that latest version of Commerce?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. This is Jim. I think that, so first of all, the migration path from Page Builder to Experience Manager is a little bit blurry. If you or you have clients who are on a legacy version of the Page Builder tool, which was the precursor to Experience Manager, I would be prepared to make it I would prepare yourself for your clients that it's going to feel a little bit more like a re-implementation necessarily than a migration. There are some tools and some frameworks that are out there. We helped write some of them that exist for migrating some of the rule sets and that kind of stuff from one tool to another. But a lot of the configuration needs to kind of get redone. But frankly, the two tools are several years apart, and it's probably not a bad idea to revisit the decisions that you made when you implemented the first time around to make sure that you're still deliberately making those decisions, a couple of years down the line. And then a lot of things that you would expect to keep, like your merchandising rules or your user profiles and templates, those will all transfer over without a lot of rework or challenges. So the process itself is it's worth taking it one step at a time and doing it carefully. I wouldn't describe it as arduous. It's certainly simpler than an ATG upgrade, right? Which can be an extremely involved process. In the case of Office Depot, they had one of the largest sets of rule configurations I think that exists. We're talking thousands or maybe tens of thousands of rules, but that's an extreme edge case. And once the migration was over, they've actually been really thrilled with the performance of the new set of tooling that is equipped to handle data sets at that scale.
And Jim, on that topic too, is there any special considerations for internal IT that folks should think about when migrating to the latest version beyond that, or is that pretty much just at a high level what folks should think about?
Yeah, I think that's where I would start. A lot of the conversations that I'm having with my client base right now are about version 11, right? The latest release of Oracle Commerce, and if we're on version 9 of ATG, and then we've got the 6.1 release of Endeca running on our site. Do we want to make the jump to version 11? Should we step up to version 10? I don't think there are a lot of broad sort of platitudes that you could put on a sampler on the wall that will give you good advice in that particular case. The devil is kind of in the details, and it's worth reaching out to a professional. Myself, if you want, my contact information is here, and we can talk through some of the nooks and crannies of that migration approach and what makes sense and what can be risky. It depends a lot on your user scale, on your data scale, and on what you're trying to accomplish. If there's a feature that's driving it, or if you just want to stay supported.
Thank you. Well, and sort of related to movement to new technologies or new topic areas, there was a question related to Interjet, which is what was the plan on approaching UI changes without it upsetting existing customers who are used to the current site, or is the idea, it's just not a concern?
That's a challenge everybody ought to be considering when they're making wholesale changes to the usability and the front end of their application. In this case, right, we had a pretty substantial team of designers who were working on this and fretting about it with the Interjet team who knows their customers very well. And ultimately, what we decided to do was, this is a change for the business, right? They're changing the way they generate revenue, and so it was acceptable to make some big changes and risk alienating some folks. We did our best to kind of straddle the fence, if you recall the screenshot of the 2B part of the application, where we left some of the key elements, like the pick a segment box. It's still there on the new page. It looks a little different. It's in a different place, but the functionality still exists and remains. And so we try to make some accommodations, but without letting what I would call a legacy business hold them back from their next stage of growth.
Okay. Thank you. We have a question here also about determining key indicators for analysis. And when you're looking at masses of data, whether that be on a commerce site or internal to a firewall in an organization, obviously it's very difficult to come up with what those key indicators might be. And in this case, this questioner is asking about, they run into this all the time with their executives. We're viewing an analysis of key indicators time-wise is very restricted. So how do you help these clients sort of broadly determine the navigation path, whether it be for commerce or for internal information that's not to be shared with the public, and kind of what do you do to help them think through that?
Yep. So from an insight perspective, we always first focus on what's valuable inside the business today. So how do you run your business, and what are those most important metrics? And a lot of those times, in commerce, it's a lot of things that Jim spoke about before, right? It's about NPS, it's about revenue. In the case of Verizon, it's very much about revenue. It's very much about profit margin, right? So the key indicators that you're looking at today don't necessarily change, but it's how you try to interact with those metrics that are really interesting. And so you have to figure out what are the most important paths to you, how do you go about your research, and that's why a user-centric approach is critically important. So we sit with analysts and we talk to them about, what guided navigation actually is. What are the key attributes that they start to look at? Where can't they answer questions today, right? So it's very much about how you do your job today and what gaps are you trying to fill. And then we spend a lot of time educating. So, this is why this release-based approach is very important. We start small. We start by building a foundation, and we actually work with the clients live in the application and say, hey, here's the use cases that we talked about. Here's some of the challenges you talked about. Here are some of the attributes. Here are some of the key things that we're going to be bringing in here so that you can do the analysis and fill those initial gaps. And then we start to expand the application from there. Once the analysts, once the people that are interacting with the application feel very comfortable with the gaps that we're filling and how to interact with them.
Okay, thank you. And we have another question about migrating Page Builder to Experience Manager. Can you talk a little bit more about Page Builder and the context for Page Builder?
Yeah, I think that the Page Builder is a legacy tool. And the thing that it shares with Experience Manager is that it's very focused on empowering the business team and allowing them to make changes to the application, to the site without needing to open tickets, define requirements, do a lot of those kinds of things that the merchant teams can be empowered to tinker with landing pages, with merchandising slots, and put things out there on their own. That said, albeit with guardrails on there that are specified by IT at implementation time about what parts of the site are okay to edit and what parts aren't, so that you can't incidentally go in and crush the site with the wrong kind of load or queries that would take too long to execute. So that's the goal of Page Builder and later Experience Manager, and the evolution that the tool has gone through from the old version to the modern one has been one of incremental steps over time. It's been very focused on making the tooling better and more performant over time, on handling multi-user situations so that a lot of different merchant teams can interact with it at the same time, and also on just enhancing features in terms of making A/B testing, detail targeting and personalization, and SEO features work better, and keeping them up to date with the times.
And we have time for just one more question. So one of the attendees asked a question about social media feeds for analytics, either for a website or kind of for sentiment analysis related to internal operations of a company. But they wanted to know, in terms of accessing feeds of data from either Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, et cetera, if those are accessed directly through the Endeca solutions, or whether you need to do some kind of staging and ingestion process into the tool from either a third-party service or some other tool in Endeca to do that. And there were a couple questions sort of related to that general topic, so I'll just leave it there and let you guys answer.
Sure. So the answer to all of that is yes. It actually depends on what you want to use the social media data for, right? So if you're going to go back and have a very, very large, you're using massive amounts of social media information, you may want to stage a Hadoop-based solution. To get that information to flow into the solution itself, you either have relationships with Facebook and Twitter and those types of things already where you can are already accessing direct feeds about your information, or you can hook up to their APIs and bring data in. We have actually hooked up to those feeds directly in several circumstances to ingest that data directly into Endeca. We have also staged it in either a separate database or a big data solution where that data sits and is used as it's called upon based on the analysis that you're doing. So the answer, unfortunately, is that it really depends based on your use case. But all options are on the table, and it's about picking the most efficient one to meet your need and to meet the type of analysis you're trying to conduct.
Great, thank you. Well, as I mentioned,
and just a quick time check. I believe we're about an hour.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to mention that we're just about at the end yet.
Exactly. Thank you, Jeff. And that's exactly what I was saying, which is thank you very much to everyone for attending. For those of you who have asked questions again about the presentation or the recording being available, as we noted at the beginning of the webinar, the SIG will be sending out a communication related to those being available shortly. And if we did not answer your questions in the group format, we will be responding to them one-on-one after the fact. So just thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and we really look forward to seeing those of you who are attending OpenWorld to come and visit us at the SIG meeting on Sunday the 28th. Thank you very much.